Today I'm talking about the difference between autism and speech delay. Usually, and of course there's always exceptions to the rule, but the kids with autism usually don't know how to imitate. So with Williams, we had to teach him how to imitate everything that we did, whether it was to jump or to run or to point. We had to teach him to learn to imitate. Before then, he would just do his own thing and wouldn't want to do what someone else was doing. So if a child naturally wants to imitate other children, then there's a good chance that it's probably just speech delay and not autism. Another sign is pointing. If your child has speech delay but they know how to point to what they want, in my opinion, a good indication that it's probably just speech delay. Because with autism, and you know, autism is such a broad spectrum. One autistic child is different from another autistic child. So I'm speaking based on my knowledge with Williams. And of course, from the things that I've read, research and all of that. So most autistic kids do not know how to point. So if your child is pointing, and then they don't have any other of the signs that I'm going to mention, and the only other concern that you have is the speech delay, then it's probably just speech delay. So like with Williams, in the beginning, he didn't know how to point. We had to teach him how to point to what he wanted. So usually he would just cry. And I spent so much time with him that I kind of knew like what he wanted at different times, but it was still hard for me because he didn't know how to point to what he wanted. He would just, so I would have to pick up different things and say, hey, do you want this or do you want that? And then he didn't even know how to nod. And you know, I'm grateful that I could stay home with him to kind of learn the things that he likes at different times of the day. So it was easier for me to be able to cater to his needs in that period of his life when he couldn't even point or use words, you know. So I like to say I'm grateful I was a stay-at-home mom, but I was a work-at-home mom. I was working. So with Williams, it was really, really hard because he couldn't even nod in the beginning. Like we had to teach Williams how to actually nod his head or say no with his head. So it was just cry. It would have been hard if I had to leave him for long hours and then come back and then try to figure out what he wants. It would have been hard. So I applaud all the families that have to work and come home and deal with a child with special needs. It's not easy at all. Like I applaud all of you. I don't know how you do it. I think it was so much easier for me. It wasn't easy for me either, but it was so much easier just because I got to spend a lot of time with Williams. So if your child has speech delay and you're wondering, is it speech delay or autism? One thing you can look out for is how they play with toys. I know from reading and from Williams, from experience with Williams, that kids with autism don't really play with toys in the way that they were intended. So say for example, a car that you just push around on the wheels, Williams will probably turn it upside down or bang it on the floor. If it's a toy that can go back and forth like this, I think they would rather have it do that motion and they would rather do this with it than actually play with it the way it's supposed to be played with. And of course, like I said, not every child who does that is autistic, but there's a good chance. If your child is speech delayed and they play with toys like that, there's a good chance that they have autism. This one is kind of, because a lot of kids do this even though they don't have autism. I think it depends on the age of the child. Kids from age 1 to 4, maybe 5, will probably do this to regulate how they're feeling. Williams, he would do this a lot. So I would say because kids that don't have autism and don't even have speech delay do this too, I would say if there's this going on and then there's speech delay and then some other signs, then I'm leaning towards autism. I'm leaning more towards autism if that's the case. So they do this and sometimes they rock back and forth. So when they rock back and forth or they do this, it actually helps to stimulate their senses. In autism, that's very, very common. Autistic kids do this a lot and they rock back and forth a lot, and it just helps to regulate their emotional states or to calm themselves. Like if they're feeling too excited or something is going on around them that they can't really take in because maybe it's too much noise, it's too much light, and they either scream or they do this just to calm themselves down. Even if your child doesn't speak, right? Does your child understand what you're saying to them? Because like with Williams, I thought at some point in my life, I thought I was going to have to teach him every single word that he would ever say in his lifetime. Because I would teach William something like open a book, and I would show him what open is, and I'll show him a book, of course, and I'll show him open a book, and he, we'll do it several times, and then he will learn, okay, that's open a book. And then when I say open the bag or open the door, even though he knows what a bag is and a door, he would just flip out, and it would be a meltdown, because to him, he's like, I don't know what open a door is or open a bag is. So he didn't connect the fact that it's the same open for several things. And I remember asking his therapist at the time, like, is this what I'm going to have to go through? Like, I'm going to have to teach him, what every word is for every situation. Like, it was crazy. But she said, just give him time and he would learn. just keep doing what you're doing and he will learn. So, you know, at that time I had to teach him, okay, open the book. Oh, open the door. Same thing. Open the door. Same thing with open the bag, open the bag. So stuff like that. So if your child, even though your child doesn't speak, because I've seen so many kids that have speech delays, but they understand what you're saying. They understand, hey, go put this in the trash. They know what to do. Okay. I think Williams was 6 before he understood, well, go put this in the trash. So if they understand different commands, different instructions, then your child probably just has speech delay. Because with autism, there is that lack of understanding. Okay, in my experience, there's that lack of understanding that comes with a lot of therapy and a lot of teaching. That's just the way it is. So another sign is like delayed. I don't know what to call it. I'm gonna give a big English word. Delayed cognitive skills. Cognitive kids, they don't understand what you're saying. Even if they can read, Williams was reading before he was 2 years old. But even if he's reading it, he's not understanding it. He doesn't understand what he's reading. He knows the letters. Show him a picture of a cow. He doesn't know what that is. But write C-O-W. He knows that's cow, but he doesn't know the picture. So that's how it was. I'm laughing now, but it wasn't funny then. Basically, any repetitive movements, like the hand flapping, the rocking, moving up and down the room, they go from one end to the other, that's a sign, you know, that's a sign. Especially if they're going up and down the room, you know, they go to one end, from one end to the other end, like that. Any repetitive movements, they like to repeat stuff, or they arrange their toys in a way that, you know, that's how they want it done all the time, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's another sign that it's probably autism. So basically, that's some of the signs that I can think of and that I've studied and that I have experience with. So I hope I'm able to help you. I hope this was able to help you in some way. If your child is experiencing more than one of the signs and you're really concerned, I think the best thing to do is to take your child to their pediatrician and let their pediatrician tell you what they think. And if your pediatrician agrees with you that, you know, your child needs services and it's not just speech delay, which of course speech delay you could also get speech therapy for. But if they tell you that, okay, this is not just speech delay and your child needs services, then I would definitely recommend finding a center that deals with early intervention for kids with special needs. Especially if you're in the United States, I think they have them in most states. Like, you can look for an early intervention center. The reason why I say this is because early intervention is key to helping your child. Now, even if you think your child is fine and it's just speech delay and they don't need any of that, if your pediatrician thinks that they do, early intervention will not hurt. It would only help. At the end of the day, it would be, okay, he really did not need it, but he got some services, okay? I know some people don't like ABA therapy, which is applied behavioral analysis therapy, but Williams got it and they were awesome. Like, I did not see any form of abuse. Some people will argue with me that, you know, making a child do this instead of do that is abuse, but I don't see it as abuse because we all have to check ourselves sometimes. Neurodivergent, neurotypical, all of us, we all have to check ourselves. We all have to think about doing the right thing all the time. Like, I have to check myself. I have to check my daughter Zita, even though she doesn't have autism. She has to behave herself. She has to control herself, even when she doesn't feel like it. So, and of course, someone with autism, there are certain things that you can't take away from them. They have autism. We have to accept them like that. But there are certain things that we have to check. Like, if a child is breaking things when they're upset and all of that, you need someone to help you with that. And that's where ABA therapy comes in. They help with behavioral issues. You know, and that's not the only thing. They helped Williams with feeding himself, potty training, holding his pencil. Oh my goodness, I cannot even count what they helped Williams with. And they helped me as a mom because I would stay there and watch them and see what they would do, and I would follow through at home. So that's very important too. You have to follow through at home. Even when you start to get services, please follow through at home, because your child needs you to follow through with the program that the therapist started. So if you're in America, if you're in the United States, yes, please get help as soon as possible. As soon as you find out, as soon as you have concerns, get help. If you don't like ABA, I think there's so many other therapies that you can use to help your child, but not getting your child therapy is, I think, in my opinion, is the worst thing that you can do. You have to get them some kind of help. Now, if you're not in the United States, I'm sorry, I don't know. Ask around. Autism is like wildly spread now. Like, people are becoming aware of it, and people are not relegating those kids to the background and all that. That's why I do what I do, because I hated the fact that people just don't want to talk about these kids, and these kids will just be in the corner and feel neglected and all of that. No, I don't want that to happen. So I want us to bring our kids to the forefront. They are children. I don't want any kind of abuse on autistic children, like keeping them at home. Oh no, I can't take them shopping with me. I have to go with the other kids, but I won't go with this child. No, you cannot do that. You cannot isolate an autistic child. Teach them, put them in the family functions. Yes, people are going to stare at you and people are going to be like, what's wrong with that child and all of that. But it's a learning process for your child. You have to involve them. We cannot isolate them. And that's why I do this. So please get the help you need and get your child involved in your life, and you get involved in their life. And they would so appreciate it. Autistic children love it when we are in their world, when we try to understand them, when we spend time with them. They love it. Williams loves it when I spend time with him. He gets sick of me though, after a while, but he loves it. He loves the fact that he knows that I love spending time with him and I love to understand him and his thought process and all of that. So I hope this video was helpful. Like I said, if you're not in the United States, I know how hard it is. Especially if you're in Nigeria, Africa, maybe the whole of Africa, I don't know, but I know in Nigeria, like, therapy is so expensive. And again, that's one of the reasons why I do this, because if you don't have the money to pay for therapy, I want you to come onto my channel and I want you to watch the different therapy skills that I've learned along the way for free. So come on and watch it for free and try to implement it on your child and see how it goes. And of course, subscribe to my channel. Please subscribe. It will help us be able to reach so many more people and be able to help other people as well. So I hope this was helpful and I hope you learned some things. And I'll see you next time.